So I decided to take the train and come here at Malmö, which is just about 45 minutes away from Copenhagen, and this is the central station. So unlike the central station of Copenhagen, this is pretty modern, and maybe that's the old building that they had. I'm not so sure yet. I just got off from the train, and it's a pretty interesting montage of old, new, and then new, and then you see that the tower, the historical building behind it, is quite imposing. So this is going to be just a day trip because I want to go back to Copenhagen before the day ends, and I just want to have a quick walking tour of the city. So this is the backside of the central station, and it's interesting how they plan it, that they have a covered area, and then I came out of one of the sheds covered, made of glass, and then it's an open space. Maybe you get picked up by the cars parked around this area, and then this escalator goes to the same platform where I came from, and this is probably just a crossing, a covered crossing for the central station. So that's a pretty big station. We are just in basically an extension of the old building, and you won't even feel that you're in an old and new because the old part looks the same. So you have all these signages, beautiful environmental graphic design, and then you have the skylight, which they can afford because it's a cold country. And then of course they have the sun buckles, the sun barriers, to minimize the sun exposure and heat. So mostly it's just cafes and retail. And as the signage says, we are already going out of the station. And of course, doesn't feel very different from Copenhagen because they belong in the same region, and this was I think conquered by the Danes as well. So they have the river as usual just beside the central station. So it's still a historical station. And then those three buildings are by Larsen again. I think it's called Malmö Live. If I'm not mistaken, there are performance venues inside the building. That's why they call it live. So we are crossing the bridge. I don't have a Swedish kroner. I only have Danish kroner, but I brought some euros with me, so I'm not sure if it's even useful here. So they have some sitting areas by the river. So a lot of tourists from Copenhagen actually come here for a day trip because it's just about 45 minutes away. Had I planned my trip better, I would have spent probably 1 or 2 days here and have a proper tour of the interesting architecture they have here. So I'm just gonna guess what the buildings are. I'm just gonna guess what the place is. So unlike Copenhagen, it's not tourist infested too much. But I guess this place benefits from the influx of tourists in Copenhagen. So I prefer to go back there because I feel like this is the main walking spine. I'm not sure yet. Really nice ceramic products, and of course if you are a designer, these things will make you stop while you are walking. So you have lighting products. So far the street fronts here are quite interesting. It catches your attention. So a coffee factory, I've seen this in Copenhagen as well, probably about 2 or 3 branches. So we are in a square, and I think this is Store Torget. I'm not sure if I'm pronouncing it correctly, but I recognize it from the statue of the king. And I think that's what marks this place as one of the oldest square in Malmö. And of course it's punctuated by interesting buildings, highly ornate, such as this one, and other buildings of historical note. So they have these plant boxes, and mind you, these are not plastic flowers or plastic plants, they are fresh. You can see the moisture. So this is the city square, and I remember in Copenhagen the KFC in the city square is always crowded and it's very hard to line up. Here I think it's easier to get in. Shawarma place in Sweden. Lovely place, beautiful people. Bolia.com, I also saw that in Copenhagen. Nice alleyway, nice entrance, arcaded. I don't know where this leads to, and I'm not sure this is even public, but we are taking it anyway because I assume it's public because I'm seeing signages. So I have a feeling that this is an old building adaptively used for commercial and office space. It opens to areas open to the sky, and then opportunities for al fresco seating. This will be a nice intimate area for eating. So mind you guys, this is a very impromptu walk, just to explore the city and discover what it's about and the architecture it offers, modern architecture it offers, and somehow give us a clue of how the city works, how the city is laid out. So probably one of the side streets, and you have a modern building here. So one of the criticisms of modern architecture, it doesn't really age that well, such as this one. Unlike if you have an old building, such as the ones that you saw, it's more long-lasting. So definitely I don't think we'll be able to walk the entire Malmö area, because I didn't study how to go around, but I have some points of interest to explore, and it's a Sunday. Maybe that's the reason why not a lot of people. So I reckon this is the historical coffee shop, Lilla Cafe Rosterit. I don't know how to pronounce it. And of course, it's Subway, the 7-Eleven. So this is the way going back to the main square, Stortorget. The dessert looks delicious. So it's not so crowded here, not so stressful, not chaotic. They also have Joe and the Juice. And I've been seeing a lot of stores selling, designer stuff. It's Sunday, that's why most of them are closed. But it provides you a good, relaxing stroll without the crowd around Malmö. It's good that the weather's cooperating, because according to forecast it will be a little bit gloomy, and I'm seeing the sun peaking. So that's where we came from. That piazza, that Stortorget. And now we're going through a small street that ends. Oh, no, I think this is a better route, because I'm seeing small buildings, which I think, based on a brief reading of Malmö, it's Lily. I'm murdering the name again. Lily Torget. We'll find out later. So they have really interesting shops here. Because what I like about Europe is that they have a lot of not mini, but quirky shops and specialty stores. And you can only find that in that store, the items that you will find there. So this is one of the historic old square of Malmö. With very old buildings that has Fridays as their retail store, as their F&B. Definitely not a busy area yet because it's a weekend. It's a Sunday, which is beneficial for us since we're not stressed out by the crowd. So I'm just gonna type the name of this place because I don't want to murder the pronunciation. But this is the piazza next to Stortorget. As equally interesting, as equally important as Stortorget. And obviously we have this building. So another specialty store, Craft India. And what I noticed is that the streets are cobbled and most of them are pedestrianized. So it feels you're walking in this town. Feels like you're walking in an old town. Like another designer store. Some items are actually recognizable. So this is a pretty quiet area. They also have bikes. Like a lot of cities should be emulating Copenhagen, Malmö with the use of their bikes. Less pollution, less cars, and we have exercise. Although it's a shame that I didn't bike in Copenhagen. So we are at Gamla Vaster, but this is how it's not supposed to look like. Based on what I read, it's supposed to be a street with small cottages, colorful cottages, and these are not it, definitely. But I have a feeling that we are nearby because it has a signage there that says Gamla Vaster. I think the disadvantage of a place where there's not a lot of people but there are some few ones is that you catch more attention because not a lot of people and you stick out too much. Like when it's crowded, they're distracted by other people. So We are in another square. This time I'm not sure where we are. I was actually looking for Gamla Vestep, or whatever. But we'll walk along until we discover it. So this is a cemetery. And there was a time when cemeteries are actually considered an eyesore and a place of bad luck. But now it's really part of the city. It's a quiet part of the city. Because it's still landscape and it's very quiet, because there's a sense of culture that you have to respect the place. So you can see a lot of people passing by, having a relaxing stroll, because it's a very quiet and serene place. So let's check it out, even just for a while, just even for a quick walk. Because definitely this is a very green place. Not a lot of dead people though. So I wonder what kind of cemetery this is, because it still has a lot of available real estate. But the trees are beautiful. The landscape's beautiful. And hopefully this leads to the place that we are looking for. The small colorful cottages of Gamla Vester. So maybe if you're a local and then you're seeing this, you might be frustrated that probably I'm going the wrong way. But I'm doing this spontaneously, so I'm just walking as I go along, and then later on I'll just use my Google map. Oh, I forgot, I don't have internet unless I activate my roaming for emergency purposes. But right now this is really a peaceful area. And Copenhagen has this area. I was supposed to go there this morning, and then when the sun showed up, I decided to come here in Malmö, just to experience it, so that I also visit another country, which is just you know, a train ride away from Copenhagen. So the cemetery is actually not that big. It has more open areas than the occupied areas for the dead. And I think they opened the cemetery as a path from one side of the city to the other. That's why you can see people walking. And like I said, it's no longer the time when we get scared of the cemetery. It's actually a form of a park. Maybe not of recreation, because you need to respect the deceased. But I think you can jog here, and it ends on a lake or a river. Wait. So this is the cemetery plan, I think. I'm not so sure, but it says Gamla, so probably we're near the place. Unfortunately, no. So I'm seeing one of the landmarks that we are intentionally visiting in Malmö. I don't know if you can see it in the screen, but instead of going to the colorful cottages, we're going straight to Santiago Calatrava's masterpiece here in Malmö. So I'm not sure if we're allowed to cross here, and I can see some tombstones. I think it's an extension of the cemetery. So instead we just walk by the sidewalk. Of course the weather is the same, the architecture is almost the same, and the sign. So we are at the end of the park from there, and we just crossed the road, and I'm not sure if I should go up and if there's a way going to the turning torso from here. So but I can see the tower already, and you can see it too, I'm sure. And of course I'm sure it's 30 minutes, and maybe in some instances it's really 30 minutes, but when you're actually doing it, it feels very different. So the area feels a bit desolate. And then I see some built areas around the Malmö area, or the turning torso area, and I can see a bridge from there. Maybe it's better to experience the turning torso from the park, and hopefully it's connected. And since this is a park area and it's a Sunday, I would assume that's the reason why there's a lot of cars and people right now, because they want to spend a relaxing time in this area. They have so many parks. That open area, you can play frisbee, you can also play soccer, or just run around. Because you wonder why there's a parking area here. Where did they go? But you can see the Öresund bridge from here. This is a nice place because it's just an open lawn and grassy area, and then I can see dogs playing with their I don't want to say master, but basically they enjoy this playground. And those are housing buildings, and that's the Öresund bridge that connects Sweden and Denmark. So here from this side you will see Santiago Calatrava's turning torso. I wish there's a pathway that cuts across and leads us to the turning torso, but just like any park experience, it has to be winding to make it feel more natural and organic. So they consider this to be the most identifiable landmark of Malmö because of its sheer height. And at the same time, its iconic quality. In fact, you'll see a lot of proposals now that has a turning quality to it, and you know where it came from. So this is probably the precedent of it. So anywhere you go, like I've seen a lot of proposals of skyscrapers in China, Middle East, anywhere that has a turning quality to it. The idea is originated from this. Well, it's such a nice jogging path. Since you have a lake, You have the option to play with your dog, play catch in the water. They actually have a wakeboard park on the other side. Judging from the ramps, you see some swans and ducks, and the dog playing frisbee. What a beautiful landscape. And then you have the turning torso. Still walking from this pathway, and this is the open grassy area, and you can see the majestic view of Øresund Bridge. And definitely that is Copenhagen with the towers. I don't know if you can see it from here, and the turning torso. When you have a park like setting like this, and then a landmark like that, and then a setup like the docks, there's opportunity for commercial development. So you have some retail at the ground over there. It's called the Malmö Wake Park. Nice wooden deck bridge, and then a yacht as a foreground to the turning torso. We're still walking beside the yacht, and I would imagine that on a given day this place is crowded. I wonder if those are actual houses. But I'm seeing a paddleboard and some personal stuff in their balcony, and I wonder if you have to pay, real estate tax for this, or maybe your obligation is like how you are paying for a yacht parking. So this is a nice campus development type of setting. So you can see this laid out campus-like pedestrian, and then we have a cluster of building. This particular one is noticeable. Combination of brick, glass, and steel, and wood. And then you have the turning torso in front of us, but I'm not sure if it's accessible from here. So we'll try to discover if this is the way going there, if this is a cluster of buildings for commercial purposes. But it doesn't feel like it. But if it's not, wow, I mean, I love this place then. Like they're just all residential areas with modern design. A combination of brick, wood, glass, and steel. So we're making a little detour to this community. It's pretty quiet. So I thought all along this is a commercial area, and yet it's not, because you won't see any cars around except for bikes, and then the flooring, the paving are made of bricks, and you have some nice landscape areas. So it's like a modern mini town in Malmö. Because at school I've been trying to create a skis, an exercise wherein my students create the layout of a small town, but the architecture is ultra modern. So this one is more traditional. They have a pocket garden here with an interesting metallic sculpture. And then we have this modern house with a nice ribbon window. Wow, this is such a good discovery. And then there are other houses that differently designed. So it goes all the way to the waterfront. But I'm more interested in the mini alleyways that they created here. Modern architecture with the layout of a medieval town. Who would have thought it's just beside the turning torso? Wow. Wow, this is a really nice picture. I really love the montage of the different colored houses, and then you have a very imposing skyscraper. Now this made my trip in Malmö really worth it, and I'm glad that I made the stop. And those are, the one in front are I think higher because they want to maximize the waterfront advantage. And then you have a nice greenhouse over there, and then an overhang thingy, very common with architects who are into modern design. Oh, there's a car, but I think the access is very limited. Okay, so yes, it's a bit dense, and yet they try to provide still a common area for the community to enjoy, such as this pocket garden. I assume that each house has a different architect, or probably a group of architects designed this, and then they have a sort of, they set a DNA for it. So it's such a neighborly feel, and doesn't feel it's urban. There's just a townhouse type of feeling in here. So it's a turning torso, and now we are probably approaching the end of the mini town with modern architecture, modern townhouses. And this particular building is interesting. So I just saw a man use that path to cross this neighborhood. So it provides an alternative route for those who want a relaxing stroll. So that's the waterfront, and then I guess this is the commercial